I'd like to introduce you all to our guest speaker, Professor Dr. Guido Quelle, aka the growth driver. He is one of the rare people worldwide who focuses on creating profitable and sustainable growth as an entrepreneur, consultant, author, and speaker for more than 25 years. With his consulting firm, Mandate Consulting Group of Dortmund, Germany, with offices in London and New York, he successfully conducted more than 500 projects with nearly 250 renowned private and listed companies. His client list includes multinationals such as Saint-Gobain, Deutsche Post, European Dental Partners, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Caterpillar, as well as dozens of medium-sized companies. And more than 6,000 people were involved just in those projects that he himself managed. Professor Quelle is always in demand when companies are seeking the support that will enable them to continue on a course of sustained profitable growth. Professor Quelle is the author and co-author and editor of more than 400 professional articles, 7 partly European studies, 3 university course texts, and 16 books. His latest English book is Profitable Growth: Release Internal Growth Breaks and Bring Your Company to the Next Level, which is what we need. As the first European member, Professor Quelle was appointed to the $1 Million Consultant Hall of Fame in 2008. His travels, consulting work, studies, speeches, and lectures have so far taken Professor Quelle to 23 countries. He lives in Dortmund together with his wife and their 2 Leonberger dogs, which I love. I'm a dog person too. I want participants of my speeches to take away 2 or 3 things they can immediately discuss or apply in their companies, says Professor Quelle. This is also the objective of the following speech. And I take pleasure to also say that this entire presentation of Professor Quelle is videotaped, and we will make it available to you all afterwards. Professor Dr. Guido Quelle.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How is everybody doing? Good? Excellent. Great. Well, you have a great motto, by the way, success through being the best. And it fits perfectly to the topic we're now discussing, growth from within. Because to be the best, you need to grow from within. But before I get too deep into details, I want to tell you that we have half an hour or so, and I want to try to walk you through 5 topics. And the first one we need to take care of is growth. Some people say, well, you know what, we're so successful, isn't it enough sometime? It's not. Is growth always necessary? I'm always asked, well, Guido, is growth always necessary? Yes. Is there a dangerous facet of growth? Yes. And isn't growth something that is depending on the economy or on politics? No. It's not the economy, it's not politics, it's not the competition, it's not the customer who just doesn't get it, it's not the weather. Some of you will work with fashion clients. It's always the weather when they're not performing. It's us. We are responsible for healthy, sustainable, profitable growth. Growth comes from within. It's not anybody else. We are in charge of growth. Everybody who sits here, and myself as well as an entrepreneur, we are in charge of growth. And there is no excuse not to grow. There's no excuse to think, well, maybe it's enough. It's not enough. We need to grow. Even to keep the current standard, we need to grow. Even to keep the current standard. Today's luxury is tomorrow's standard. So we need to grow. And if we all haven't grown, we wouldn't sit here. Growth comes from within. Growth is something we can create, we need to create. And if anybody approaches you with the question, do we really need to grow? The answer is yes, we need to grow. And when we talk about growth with our clients, we need to reset the term growth a bit, because growth is too often linked with more of the same. Sure, we need to sell more of our products and services, of our existing products and services, but it's more than that, because at some given day, our products and services are taken for granted. Today's luxury is tomorrow's standard. And so we need to innovate. We come to that later. And the point is that growth is not just selling more of the same each day. It's more than that. It's development. It's progress. It's innovation. It's about reinventing at some time. At least when you're saturated. So let's just for 30 minutes take for granted that growth is necessary. It comes from within. It is something we can and we should and we ought to create. We are in charge of it. Who else? It's us. So, haven't talked about that generally. I want to mention the term growth intelligence. Maybe it's better than just growth. Growth from within has something to do with growth intelligence. And growth intelligence needs 2 or 3 things we will cover in this speech. And the first thing I want to mention is strategy. And that's the second point I want to walk you through in this speech, strategy. Wow, big word. I'm pretty sure that in a couple of presentations today and tomorrow, there will be the word strategy mentioned. You can do a buzzword counter, right? Strategy. But we need to talk about strategy because it's important for growth. And before we go further, I want you to do something, and I hope you can read it. I will write it very clearly. S and O. Minus, plus. I wanted to do something with your neighbor for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. This axis is the strategic excellence, minus, plus. This here is operational excellence, minus, plus. And I want you to discuss with your neighbor for 2 minutes, just a brief discussion, the companies you know, your own aside, where are they located? Mostly. In quadrant number 1, low operational excellence, low strategic excellence. In quadrant number 2, low operational excellence, high strategic excellence. In quadrant 3, high operational excellence, low strategic excellence. Or in quadrant 4, that's where we all are, of course. Sure, we're here, right? Outperformed. High strategic excellence and high operational excellence. There's no right or wrong. I just want you to discuss with your neighbor the companies you know. Where are they located the most? 2 minutes from now. Go. Okay, folks, 2 minutes are over. Thank you. You don't need me, do you? Thanks for this. And now raise your hands, please. There is no right or wrong. Who came to the conclusion that the most companies they know are located in quadrant 1? Hands, please. Okay. 2. Who thinks the most companies they know are in quadrant 2? 10. Don't leave me alone here. Who thinks the most companies they know are in quadrant 3? Okay, couple of. More than 100. Who thinks the most companies you know are in quadrant 4? Oh, more than 10 at least. And the other 200 who didn't raise their hands, thanks for participating anyway. So, however, there is no right or wrong, but in our observation, what we observe, especially in Germany, but also in other countries in Europe, we see most companies located here. Operational excellence, strategic excellence, well, not so good. And since there is no right or wrong, we try to figure out why is it so? Why is our observation that way? And we figured out that this has something to do with ambiguity and with the wish to control something. Operational excellence is something you can measure each day. You can reorganize, re-engineer your processes. You can streamline your processes. You can be more efficient. You have a lot of KPIs to measure all these processes. There are not too many KPIs to measure strategy. And this is something we can measure each day. We can see, are we getting better? Are we doing better? Are we really excellent? Or do we need to improve? This here, the strategy axis, is, well, really a field of, an area of ambiguity. We cannot measure strategy. Sure, we can. If a company is successful, we say, well, this must be due to a brilliant strategy. But this is an explanation backwards. And so we find it natural that most of the companies are taking care of processes and not taking care so much of strategy. I hope you're doing, well, we are here, so you must be doing a great job in doing your strategy as well. The important point about strategy is that it often is so inconcrete. It's not specific enough. And here's one of the reasons, maybe. And maybe when I was introduced, one point was take 2 or 3 things from my speech and try it at home. That's the greatest result you can achieve. There will be some things new to you, some things will be familiar to you, but if you take 2 or 3 things away from this speech and to test it, to try it out at home, that would be great. So, talking about strategy. What is strategy? Strategy is not away from today, right? It's not just away from today. Some people say, well, today is not too good, we can improve. Where do we go? Away from here. The bad news is, away from here is everywhere. Good news is, you're always right. Because away from here is everywhere. And if you are somewhere, you're away from here, somewhere else. But, you know, some of you will take a car to get back home or to the airport or whatever. If you tell the GPS system, get me away from here, it will say, repeat please, I didn't get your message. And here is news for you. Your company acts the same and reacts the same. If you say, folks, we are getting away from here, everybody says, great boss, thank you so much. Everybody's doing right because everything away from here is good, and everybody is somewhere. The company doesn't understand the message, get me away from here. And that's why we need something, and it's really another buzzword, but I need to do it, it's a vision. We need a vision. We need a vision not just for the whole company. We need visions for within the big vision of the whole company, we need visions for our operations. And this vision must be set by the top management or the owners. Otherwise, it doesn't work. A vision is not something that is anarchical or there is a certain basic democracy. A vision needs to be set by the top management or the owners. And this vision gives the direction for what we call strategy. Hey, buzzword. But simple as that, we have a combination between today and tomorrow. A vision is something not esoterical. It's nothing consultants should work on for a couple of months. It's something very specific. It's a desirable state of a future that we maybe will not achieve. A desirable state of the future we may not achieve. No figures, no numbers, no years, it's qualitative. And this is something we often miss in companies. It's not magnetic enough. Sometimes there is, in the year 2028 or what, we will make a couple of $1 billion or euro or whatever more. That's not a vision, that's a goal. We need a vision, because otherwise we cannot get our people on board. And if we take for granted that growth comes from within, we need to get our people on board. And we cannot get our people on board just with numbers, with figures. We need some qualitative, we need a picture, we need something we can work on together, on a common picture of a future. This is not esoteric, this is really practical advice. If you don't have a vision, create one. If you have a vision, make sure your people are knowing it and your people are getting it. The first step, so, is to say, where are we today? That's fair. Where do we want to be tomorrow? And the shortest way from A to B is the strategy. And then, just to make it complete, then there are certain actions, activities, projects, measures, whatever you call it, that take you from today to tomorrow. Often forgotten. Strategy is clear. I really often hear it from our clients. Well, you know what, of course we have a strategy, otherwise we wouldn't be so successful. Okay, tell me your strategy. Well, it's so and so. And even if people are capable of telling me their strategy, they're often enough not capable of explaining their strategy to their employees. And this is something extremely important when we talk about growth. It's obvious. And it's not easy. And there is something within this picture here, within this visual here, that strengthens my point I made here. Because the red area there is an area of uncertainty, of ambiguity. You don't know what the future will bring. You have no idea. But you can make sure that you shape the future, create the future as good as you can by taking specific action. And that's how we reduce the ambiguity factor of the strategy a bit. But everybody must know there is no 100% certainty or 100% clear picture of the future. One speaker we invited 2 years ago, I think, said, he was asked, do you really plan straight? He said, of course, because deviations are everywhere. And it's like a GPS system. Sure, the way is not straight, but if you are off track, you need to know where the right track is. There will be deviations. Of course there will. But this is something often forgotten in operational business, and that's why the operational excellence is often overemphasized. I don't have the time to talk about strategy. We need to create revenues. So far about strategy. Let's talk a bit about processes and organization. Because we can't just focus on strategy, we need to execute as well. And when we have operational excellence projects run by our clients, for example, the most operational projects, excellence projects, are redesigning processes. So, person A reorganizes their process, person B the other process. And this could look like the following situation. I just, a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago I must say, there was a situation, it was winter. We were at the client site. We had a project meeting. And at some given hour, the assistant of the management entered the room, went to the project manager of our client, said something I didn't get. The project manager went out of the room. I said, oh, great meeting. They came back and the project manager said, well, we have an issue because one of our most important clients wants to get here early January. It was just before Christmas, December something. Early January to test the products he ordered. And we are not able to deliver them. They're not even ready by the beginning of January. But that was something we promised, and we need to keep our promise. So there was a great heat in the room, and then in the afternoon, the management said we need to have an emergency meeting, and I was invited to be in the meeting and to sit in just to observe and maybe to intervene if necessary. And then this meeting in the afternoon went like this. The management opened the meeting, and they said, okay, how can we solve this problem? One of our most important customers wants to be here in January, wants to get his products, and we are not able to. So, what's the solution? Sales manager said, okay, I have the solution. You, pointed at the director of production, you would have been better off to be faster in producing the products. The product guy says, me? He! The purchasing guy said he didn't get my products. I needed to complete all the things for the final products for a customer. The purchasing guy said, okay, if you, sales, had told me earlier what you really need, I would have ordered earlier. Have you been there? Have you been in this meeting? Yeah, there you go. Me too. Welcome to the club. We all got the T-shirt. And this went back and forth. And then I said, well, come on, stop this, please. We are sitting here in a very warm room, 21 degrees centigrade. Outside, it's minus 25. It was winter. There is a lake outside. Someone has fallen into the lake, crying, cannot swim, and we are talking about, how did he get in? This is when we talk about optimization of single processes. This is a danger for growth if you're just optimizing single processes. Here is something you can really make immediate use of. If you are thinking about, or if you just are optimizing, re-engineering, streamlining your processes, do not take care of the single processes. Take care of something else. And that's the nowhere land of the value chain. It's here. Here are the millions. In the interfaces between the processes. Because if you tell me, Quelle, Guido, re-engineer a process, I will do this and I will deliver an excellent result, regardless of what person B really needs. And this is something we need to focus on, creating growth from within. We are all in charge of that. To focus on the interfaces between the processes, not just on the processes, because you can really assume or presume that the person will optimize their process very good. Focus on the interface. There are the millions. Literally, by the way, literally. And this is something we too often recognize, that processes are optimized in an isolated way, which is always dangerous. And then there is another thing. Have you been in these meetings when someone gets up, walks to the easel, and draws something like this? Well, we have this guy here, and this person there, and this person here, and this, and here are some others, and we need to take them here. And did you have these situations? Someone walks up and does some organizational charts without having talked about the processes first. Organization needs to follow the process, not the other way around. What we are doing all the way is creating an organization, and we try to bow the processes until they fit. Dangerous for growth. Growth comes from within. If you really have a growth thinking, and I respect that you're not a startup, but it's also possible in successful companies. Take care of your processes first and rearrange the organization then. It works. It's not the easy way. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would be successful if it was easy. It's not easy. But it's the only way I know to really be effective, not just efficient, in processes. My fourth, so we talked about growth, we talked about strategy. It's a parforce, I really admit. We talked about processes. Why don't we talk about sales? The book that was introduced at the beginning of my speech, Profitable Growth, deals with releasing internal growth breaks. And since I had more time to write the book than to give a speech, I was able to really go deep into the different departments. And why don't we talk about sales? Because sales, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really convinced that sales is the most important department in a company. The bad thing is, sales guys know this. And they act accordingly, more often than not. We are all important. Yes, but if nobody is selling products and services, the other guys can go home, right? We don't need any production, we don't need engineering, we don't need management, we don't need bookkeeping if there is not someone selling products and services. But sales, being the natural growth driver of a company, is more often than not a growth break within a company. I love sales, and I know where the emergency exit is there. I love sales, but I really need to say, and I want you to participate in my observations, in my experience, in our experience in my firm, that sales is too often arrogant, silo-oriented, intransparent, and demanding rather than asking or interacting. Sales has interfaces to all other departments. And these interfaces are very valuable. We once did a study on the interaction between marketing departments and sales departments. And one of our initial theses was that they're not talking to each other. We were wrong. Our initial thesis was wrong. Marketing and sales are talking all the time, but about the wrong topics. And this interaction could be so powerful, especially marketing and sales. Of course, we need operations, because operations has to fulfill the promise of sales, right? Not often easy, or often not easy. And we need to talk about really sales in terms of a growth driver. If sales wants to be a growth driver, they need to interact better, they need to understand the company better, they need to do more than asking for more marketing material, lower prices, higher availability, or whatever, or the right customers. And this is something a growth-oriented organization really focuses on. How is sales acting? Are they really a growth driver in our firm? Or are they just selling more of the same? And I want to show you something my personal coach once told me, and that was really an aha moment. If you have something this level, and this is your customer is asking for something. The customer says what he wants. I want this and that. And then sales can close and say, okay, good, we're doing that. Perfect. Instead of asking what the client or the customer really needs. And this is something we call value. This is added value. Most often, this could be done, this could be fulfilled with just little more effort than this, and it's highly more profitable, highly more margin. It's extremely positive for the customer, because if someone, and we all know that from ourselves being customers, if we meet a salesperson in a retail store or wherever, and they show us what we really need, we're ready to spend money on it. Come on, here's a test. If Steve Jobs approached me in 2006 and would have said, Guido, hi, good to meet you. I say, hi, Steve. What's your idea, Guido, of a new cell phone? Oh, I would say, Steve, great question. I want to have, number one, a greater battery, because I'm using it powerfully, this phone. I need to have a larger memory, because I have a lot of contacts. I need to have more than 15 text messages on this damned SIM card. I need to have a color screen, and well, that would be great. I wouldn't have said, Steve, my friend, this would be great. You need to create something extremely new, something the world hasn't seen before, something where I can have all my music on, all my pictures on. I can use it for interacting worldwide with all my social contacts, something that will create something you will call, Steve, an app industry, billions in Germany alone. a device that I can really use, and it's a lifestyle device, so to speak. And, something I can take phone calls with. And something I want to spend 1,300 euros every 2 years on. That wouldn't have been my answer. But he did exactly that. He did not ask what we wanted. He knew what we needed. And that is anticipation of needs, is something we are all not Steve Jobs, we're not creating iPhones, we're here in the logistics services area, but all your customers have certain needs. And what we need to ask them is, are these needs already met? Are they even identified? And if not, we're better off to do this. It takes time, yes, but it's way more profitable than just giving the customer what he wants. In the logistics services, you call it value-added services, whatever, but even the value-added services are something customers often want already. So why aren't we talking with customers? Why aren't we taking the time to really talk about what the customer needs? It's highly profitable business. By the way, what we haven't talked about, the bonus, is the question, where are we on the growth curve currently? If this isn't clear, we are maybe acting the wrong way. A lot of companies we know are here, saturated. Do you know how to recognize when you're saturated? Certain things. Number one, you're talking about cars in your company. Who will get what kind of car? You're talking about, too often and too much, you're talking about if you're building new offices, you're talking about the number of windows in your office. You're talking about the furniture in your office, and you're not talking about the customer anymore. You're talking about really administrating yourself, rather than taking care of what the customers really want and need. If these kinds of discussions, if internal discussions rule discussions about the issues your customers have, that's a good sign for being a bit too saturated, maybe. And we're all endangered to be in the mode to say, you know what, we are successful. Suppliers are being paid, employees are being paid, there is some revenue, there is a customer, sometimes irritating, and the business is running. But this is extremely dangerous because our current success is a result of the past, not of the present. Our current success is being based on decisions we made in the past. Our current success is based on what we have done before. I don't know when you get your profit and loss statement. I get mine 3 weeks after month closing. That means that the first activity there is at least 7 weeks old. It's old. It's dated. We need to take care that we, in this present moment, and by the way, the scientific definition of presence is the second before, this second, and the second after, period. In this second, we make the right decision for the future, so that we are able to say in the future we're still successful and even more successful than before. So if you want to maybe create a bit sense of urgency in your own firm, that will be a certain aspect to talk about. My last point I want to address today is the point of how to implement all the ideas we have, the growth ideas we have. How can we do this? And there is no magic wand, and there are so many aspects we need to keep in mind, but there is a principle. Whenever we are talking with our clients and customers about how to execute all this, we're talking about focusing, laser-like. We're not talking about doing everything. We're talking about focusing, the critical aspects. And you may have seen this before, the situation, when this is your company, and now you want to grow. and you're really ambitioned, and your team is ambitioned, and everybody knows, oh, wow, growth is excellent, we need to grow, we want to do something perfect. A lot of activities are being done, and some of them are really meeting the objectives. But some of them are a waste of time. And if you look at this company 1 year later, maybe it has grown a bit. We do it a different way, and we really recommend you to do this a different way, in a different way as well. This is your company. I can't change this. But we can change the way to approach growth activities. When we work with a company, we take care that everything is laser-like, focused, and really delivers results. So that when we go to a company a year later, it has grown maybe that much. This way, you have done a lot. This way, you have great results. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. And by the way, this is my email address. If you send me an email, I will provide you a link to this video that was just taped if you just want to see it again, watch it again. And I have also created recently a growth manifesto, a manifesto for profitable growth in English, so I can send you the PDF as well. Just send me an email, and I'll be happy to send you the link or the or the PDF. Thank you so much. Thank you.